Take your life back. Take your life back.
Good morning and welcome to Take Your Life Back with Ralf Friedrichs. Today we're going to talk about how addiction affects relationships. So this particular segment is not just for the addicted, but also for the people around them. But as always, we're going to mention Dr. Luis Gonzalez from Starting Point. You can find him at 844-414-8444. Also, his website is www.startingpointmn.com. That's startingpointmn.com, like I always tell you folks. And for the first time listeners, Dr. Luis Gonzalez has two sides of his business. I'm sorry, let me just move a little bit here. He has the coaching side, which will walk with you from your addiction to your recovery, hand in hand, 24 hours at a time. Never ever, like myself, will Dr. Luis Gonzalez talk about your past. We will only concentrate on today and tomorrow. On the other side, Dr. Luis Gonzalez can help you become an addiction recovery coach. If you have passion, personality, and professionalism, and you have some sort of addiction background, whether it's battling your own addiction or helping a loved one or family member, call Dr. Luis Gonzalez at 844-414-8444, and he will also help make you a addiction recovery coach. You can also contact me at clearviews.info, clearviews.info. Over at clearviews.info, I supply over 180 videos, tons of articles and newspaper clippings that are in there from doctors, psychiatrists, and psychologists that have written about addiction and recovery, how to deal with everyday life if you have an addiction. My videos have covered just about every subject you can imagine. However, if there is something that you have not seen and you'd like to see it, contact us over at 844-405-HELP or you can text me at 631-599-0218, and I will make sure I do a segment on video for you on this and for everyone else as well. You can also, just like Dr. Luis Gonzalez, you can contact me at 844-405-HELP and go to www.clearreform.com. That's CLEARREFORM.com. That is my side where I help you, if you have an addiction, walk from your addiction to recovery 24 hours at a time, day by day, never ever looking at the past. I, like Dr. Luis Gonzalez, will only concentrate on today. That's exactly what we do as addiction recovery coaches, and if you want to, just give me a call, 844-405-HELP. If you notice, both my websites start with the word CLEAR. CLEAR stands for Community Lessons Empower Addiction Recovery, because it is your lessons, my lessons, and the whole global community. Our lessons empower addiction recovery. We all have to work together on educating each other on how to battle addiction, because addiction will not go away by itself. Addiction has to be faced head on. Addiction has to also have two ingredients of battling, and that is, the first one is to stop denying you have one, and the second one is to reach to your higher power. Let's dive into how addiction affects relationships. This comes directly from the CDC, so I'm going to read some of this. And an addict may or may not realize it, but the fact is that his addiction does affect most every kind of relationship that he or she is involved in, personally or professionally. There's always a bit of tension and associated with dealing with an addict of any kind. The result of addiction can be different in different situations, depending on the kind of decisions made by both parties involved in the relationship. Addiction brings with its detriment what begins as a sniff, a puff, a drag, a swig, a morsel, a splurge, or a fling that can spiral into something beyond control of the person, and before he realizes, he or she is addicted. The thing about addiction and relationships is that both sides can equally be tormented, confused, and helpless. Some may try to understand the addiction, some may give up for a while, and some hang in there till the very end, willing their way through the ordeal of helping the addict get his or her life back. Whatever the situation, the bottom line is that deterioration of relationships is collaterally to any kind of addiction. It affects every person, the spouse, partner, family, friends, colleagues, supervisors, superiors, and even random people they meet every day in everyday's life. Addiction and relationships. A lot of problems accompany an addiction. They grow slowly but culminate into something that can uproot relationships and leave one stranded. There's always going to be a financial burden. The burden of managing finances falls on the shoulders of the sober partner. So if you're the addicted, your partner has the financial burdens, and if you're the partner, then you will see why I say that you will have this. An addict may not be able to hold a job for very long. He or she may use his or her money on his or her addiction. He may get fired, or all of the above. Addictions don't come cheap, and the lengths of an addict will go to make sure that their addiction is being fed is tremendous, and he or she will keep that addiction going strong, can from a simple and sneaky to downright devious acts will be performed against the person that has the financial burden in the first place. So the addicted will do whatever it takes to get the money to feed the addiction. In such situation, it becomes the sober partner's duty to fend for both of them and the family, if any. The sober partner may even have to take extra work, such as an extra job, plan out different strategies, lie and hide the addict's financial incompetence, all in an effort to try to make him get through this without any more stress in the addicted's life. That is true love. If your partner is doing whatever it takes to get you through this addiction, besides my video, I hope that you, as the addicted, will come to the point where you hit rock bottom, and it happens really soon, because you really need to do that, because it's so unfair for the partner of yours to have to carry the weight of your addiction. The emotional upheaval. The very fact that one suffers from addiction is proof that he or she is not emotionally stable. While many may think the addiction is a matter of willpower, which it's not, what is the matter of willpower is to admit that you have an addiction. It may not always be possible for the person to realize that he is indeed has a problem. The fear of volatility. The addict's behavior, as stated above, can extremely be unpredictable. He might be ecstatic one day and extremely aggravated the next day. This temperamental behavior can make it difficult for people to be around him or her. Friends and colleagues may just begin to avoid him because of that. But it's the family that has to bear the brunt of the sometimes possible violent outbursts of the addict. Children grow up in such homes can be severely affected, as addiction can be very bad influence. Living in constant fear becomes a second nature for all involved, and this is what we talk about being a role model. And we're going to discuss the 4 things that you should never do in front of your children or in your home, and the 4 things that you should do. We're going to discuss that after this particular segment. But the embarrassment that comes with addiction and a relationship is tremendous, and here's why. The family may or may not let the outside world know that the addiction, but the addict, since he may not be able to think straight for himself, does it automatically. Missing work, foregoing family events, evading responsibilities, creating scenes in public, breaking the law, shrugging off duties, etc., are some of the levels he or she may stoop to. It is only a natural consequence for the family to face embarrassment that these acts have caused. They resort to covering up and making excuses whether and whenever possible to save face. Communication is a problem when there is a partner in a relationship and with a sober partner and an addicted partner. Due to the highly volatile nature that the addict assumes in the throes of addiction, the people around him tend to go into recluse. They close themselves up and the relationship begins to crack. The addict will refuse to accept that there is a problem, and the sober one will constantly be trying to make him realize that he does have a problem. Emotional conflicts ensue, egos clash, harsh words are spoken, and misunderstandings and arguments become a daily affair. It soon becomes close to impossible to communicate with the addict. This situation gets worse if the addict resorts to lying, cheating, and just to support their addiction or their habit, and even starts stealing. Betrayal can never be taken easily by anyone in any relationship. And when there's communication problems and the embarrassment and the emotional, then the frustration and the resentment starts to kick in. Slowly but surely, frustration begins to build up within the people who have to deal with the addict. Whether it's the spouse who has to shoulder all the responsibilities of the codependent addict, a parent who sees the child wasting their life on narcotics, or a child watching his parents extremely violent temperament, annoyance and disappointment fester within them. This was what the children will see. A sense of resentment soon combines with vexation, and the addict is seen as irritant. So now you see the frustration and the resentment. And then the last but not least is the eventual demise of this relationship. While everyone may try to at first to put up with it and for the sake of the relationship, when it becomes apparent that the addict is beyond intervention and the relationship is beyond repair, they may opt to free themselves of the emotional, psychological, financial, and physical burdens that being with an addict brings with it. An addict will find himself getting deserted by one person after another. Everyone will isolate themselves away from the addict. This is why we always talk about you need to start realizing that you have a problem. And I know it's easier said than done because I've been there, I've done it, I get it. But as a dedicated person in recovery, as I am, it is my mission, my responsibility to bring to you the information daily. Because I didn't have the pleasure of having, or the opportunity of having somebody day after day, week after week, year after year tell me all the ins and outs, ups and downs of addiction and recovery. So you, as the viewer, benefit from this, and I will continue to do this. Now, once the demise has set in, how to make good on the damage. When the addict finds himself alone at a point in his life that he has that his narcotic cannot get him out of it, he may have a reality check and decide to make up for the emotional trauma that he has put everyone around him through. What the addict needs to do is accept the problem. The first step is to accept that there is a problem, or he is the problem. If he does not think he has one, there's no way he will be willing to go through with the reprocess of himself or herself, of reforming, of transforming themselves. They first have to admit they have a problem, introspect, and take responsibility. When he has decided to face the problem and admitted it, he must take a long, hard look at himself and be willing to take responsibility for all the harm that he has caused to the people around him. He has to have the courage to face the effects of all his deeds and strive to make up for them, which sometimes will not ever happen with some certain people because the damage has been so severe that it's irreversible. However, whatever you can save, you will try. You need to seek help. Getting rid of an addiction is something that cannot be done alone. Constant support, moral and physical, is required to help the addict in his healing process. Help from family, friends, and rehabilitation organizations is what he has to rely on to get some semblance of normality back into his life. These videos, my posts daily, is exactly what they're talking about. I am not only a friend, I am a family member of your addiction. It is my responsibility, and even you, once you have hit rock bottom and you go forward in your recovery, it is your responsibility to spread the word on how you can live with an addiction. It is up to you to go out and do exactly what I'm doing. I'm not saying with the videos and the live interviews and doing all the posts and talking to other people about addiction in reference to the enormous amount of people that I talk to. But I'm talking about just in general, in your circles around you, in your circles of life. You need to start planning a recovery, and more importantly, you need to stick to it. Because an addiction is so easy to acquire and difficult to give up, the rehabilitation process becomes that much more difficult. Hence, the addict needs to devise a strategy plan for his recovery and then adhere to it. I always talk about, in order to have when you set a goal, you need to have a strategy. You need to have a plan to achieve that. You also always, and I mean always, have to be prepared for setbacks. The process of rehabilitation will involve a lot of unfavorable, undesirable, and trying tests of physical, psychological, and mental endurance. The addict needs to be prepared for all of these. Folks, you see how there are different stages in a relationship with an addiction, with a partner that has an addiction. And these stages are quite important, that each and every one of these stages is not only recognizable, but also that the persons involved adhere to a lot of the advice that is given. And I'm going to go over that real quick again. How an addiction affects relationships. An addict may not realize, but the fact is that the addiction does affect almost every kind of relationship that he is involved. It can be a personal relationship. It could be a relationship with your children or your in-laws. It could be a relationship that you have at your job with your boss, your professional relationship. But an addiction affects everyone. It may crumble your relationship with your partner. It might put a stain on your relationship with your children. It might cause you to lose your job. Addiction and relationships, a lot of problems accompany an addiction. Excuse me. They grow slowly but culminate into something that can uproot relationships and leave one stranded. You need to be aware of the financial burdens. The burden of managing finances falls on the person that does not have the addiction. So as a person that has an addiction, you need to say to yourself, is this fair for you to put another person through all this? You need to adhere to a lot of the advice that is given to you and educate yourself daily. You will have emotional upheaval. The very fact that one suffers from an addiction is proof that he or she is not emotionally stable. And nobody is calling you that you're mentally insane or anything. What they're saying is that the addiction has overcome and is trying to guide you down. I always say the fork in the road. To the left, the addiction fork, the one with the cloud and the lightning. You need to now steer yourself to the right, the recovery road. You need to fear volatility. The addict's behavior, as stated above, can be extremely unpredictable. He might be ecstatic one day and extremely aggravated the next day. The emotional roller coaster ride that you will be going through with your addicted loved one, and if you're a child watching this with your parent possibly, is going to be tremendous. Living in constant fear becomes second nature to you, to your loved ones, so you need to be alert. And the embarrassment that comes with addiction or addicted person in a relationship. The family may or may not let the outside world know that there is an addiction, but the addict, since he may not be able to think straight for himself, does it all by themselves, by the way they act, the way they talk, the actions they do. They will do this on themselves. They resort to covering up. This is the family members now. And making excuses wherever possible to save their reputation, otherwise known as to save face. Communication does become a problem due to the highly volatile nature that an addict assumes in the throes of his addiction. The people around him tend to go and into a recluse. They close themselves up and the relationship begins to show signs of cracking. The addict will refuse to accept that he has a problem, and the sober one will constantly be trying to make him realize that he does. Eventually, all that embarrassment and the communication problem, there will be frustration and resentment. Slowly but surely, frustration begins to build up within the people who have to deal with the addict, whether it is the spouse who has the shoulder of all the responsibility of the codependent addict, a parent who sees the child wasting his life on narcotics, or the child watching his parents' extremely volatile temperament, annoyance, and disappointment fester within them. A sense of resentment soon combines with the vexation, and the addict is seen as irritant. And eventually, there will be a demise. While everyone may try it at first to put up with the other person for the sake of the relationship, when it becomes apparent that the addict is beyond intervention, the relationship beyond repair, many opt to free themselves of the emotional, psychological, financial, physical burdens that being with the addict brings with it. An addict will find himself getting deserted by one person after another. So what do? If you're the addicted person and you have now lost people around you, what do? When the addict finds himself alone and at a point in his life that his narcotic cannot get him out of anything anymore, he may have a reality check and decide to make up for the emotional trauma, and he has to put everyone around him through that he has put everyone around him through. At this point now, he or she is starting to show some sort of conscious remorse. But the first thing you need to do is you need to accept the problem. The first step is to accept the problem. If he does not think he has one, there is no way he is willing to go through any type of treatment. You have to first be willing to accept it. And you have to take responsibility. When he has decided to face the problem, he must take a long, hard look at himself and be willing to take responsibility for all the harm he has caused to people around him. He has to have the courage to face the effects of all the deeds and strive to make up for them. You need to seek help. Getting rid of an addiction is something that cannot be done alone. Help would be what we're going to discuss in a little while. It could be different programs. It could be a treatment center. Constant support, moral and physical, is required to help the addict in the healing process. Help from family, friends, and rehabilitation organizations is what he has to rely on to get some sort of normal life back. There is no such thing as just sitting there and saying, okay, I know I have a problem, I'm going to stop drinking, or I'm going to stop doing drugs. You need to have an action plan to achieve that goal. Plan a recovery and stick to it. Because an addiction is so easy to acquire and difficult to give up, the rehabilitation process becomes that much more difficult. Hence, the addicts need to devise a strategy plan into recovery and then adhere to it. Be prepared for setbacks, and you will possibly see some. The process of rehabilitation will involve a lot of unfavorable, undesirable, and trying tests of physical, psychological, and mental endurance. The addict needs to be prepared. The addict needs to be prepared. There is one that I need to bring up while it's on my mind, and that is the emotional upheaval, and that comes down to being a role model. When your children, day after day, have to see you doing one of these 4 things or all of these 4 things in your house, you are a failure as a role model, as the hero in your children's eyes. This is not just for mommy and daddy, this is also for grandparents and legal guardians. These 4 things should never, ever happen in your home. You should never drink in front of your children. I prefer to tell you never to drink at all, but for the sake of this video, you should never drink in front of your children. If you have to drink, go do it on the outside somewhere. You should never smoke in front of your children. Again, do it elsewhere. You should never use the bathroom trashy profanity that comes out of some people's mouth that I hear sometimes in front of your children. As a matter of fact, in front of anyone. That is left for the bathroom. Take it in there. And God forbid, you should never ever physically abuse in front of your children or anywhere else in life. If you have a problem, an anger issue that you need, or you feel the need that you physically have to abuse someone, you need to call for help, therapy, or counseling. You really do. If you're the victim of physical abuse, you need to call the authorities. It is better to call the authorities and have your loved one taken out in handcuffs, possibly to get some help to come back to you one day a better person, than for the authorities to come to your home and take you, that's right, you, out in a body bag. Because you'll never come home. That's irreversible. Because you need to make that phone call. The minute somebody puts their hands on you, you need to call 911. Those 4 things should never happen in your home. Smoking, drinking, physical, domestic abuse or physical abuse, and profanity. These 4 things have to happen in your home for you to be a successful role model, to be that hero in your children's eyes. You need to show love daily to your children, to your spouse, to your partner. You need to show respect around the board to everyone in your home. In order to get respect, you need to give respect. You need to show compassion. When your children come to you with a problem, show that you really do care. And hopefully you really do. And if you don't, you need to seek counseling. And you need to show emotion. If your child, your partner comes to you and they're broken down into pieces about something, show some emotion. Don't just sit there like a cold or a hard rock with no emotion. Those 4 things have to be in your home. Love, respect, emotion, and compassion. If you have those 4 things and you get rid of the other 4, which was smoking, profanity, drinking, and domestic abuse, you will have completed the responsibility of a good role model, the hero in your children's eyes. You will have completed that. It is then that you can help write the chapters in the book of life for your children and for yourself to continue. All of us have a book of life. Our chapters are 1 year for every year one chapter for every year we're alive. You should be part of your children's life, or you should be part of writing your children's chapters in their book of life between 0 and 18. Those should include love, respect, emotion, and compassion. They should not include drinking, smoking, profanity, or domestic abuse. It is up to you to help write those chapters. And as you're writing your children's chapters, continue writing your chapters. And if today, October 25th, 2014, previously all your chapters have been somewhat less desirable, it is today that you can start writing new chapters in your book of life. If today, October 25th, 2014, you finally said, I am ready for change, I know I have a problem, Ralph, I need help, call me, 844-405-HELP. 844-405-HELP. I will help you. And if you don't want to talk to me, text me, 631-599-0218. But if you are ready to rewrite or to write new chapters in your book of life today, October 25th, 2014, and you finally admit you have a problem, here's where you can go for treatment. You can go into a treatment center. They have the 30, 60, 90-day programs. They take insurance, most of them do. If you don't have insurance, contact me or go on your state's website. In most states, there is some sort of treatment available for people that have financial challenges. You can try AA. They have the 12-step program. They suggest when you first start in your recovery to do the 90-90, which is 90 meetings in 90 days. They have a structured program. They meet about an hour, hour and a half a day. That is AA, been around since 1936 and have helped millions. I did try that. Then I invented my own methods because I needed to be actively involved. It's almost compared to the analogy on the job training. I can't just sit for an hour and a half and expect for me to recover permanently. I needed to be actively involved in the community. I needed to be actively involved in my own home. So I designed clearviews.info, which is my website that I created about a month after sobriety started in my life. Clearviews.info is a webpage that gives you all the community lessons that it can empower your addiction recovery. That's how I started my own methods. Those methods continue to grow to the point where I became so interested in addiction recovery that I seek Dr. Luis Gonzalez, or we seeked each other. From starting point, he is at 844-414-8444. He then let me go through his educational program and I became an addiction recovery coach. From there, I became branched out even bigger. I started doing videos to the tune of 184 at this point. 184 videos of topics that I have addressed in so many different facets. There might not be a topic for every subject. That's where you come in hand. Suggest some. 631-599-0218. My producer, my wife, Ralf Friedrichs, she suggested this one for today. That's why she's my producer. She helps. But if you have a topic that you'd like me to mention or a personal story, I can air it for you. You can, if you want to, have your name mentioned, or you don't have to. I can also interview you on camera or on audio alone. 631-599-0218. Text me and I will get that aired for you. From there, I branched out even larger, where I've been contacted by news agency, talk show. I've been contacted by other people, a couple churches, some AA organizations, or not organizations, homes. My videos have been in some schools for MAD and SAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, SAD against Students Against Drunk Driving. As you can, my point here is that I'm branching out. I do live interviews. Matter of fact, today I will be in Mastic Beach between 3:30 and 4:30, doing live interviews. Real people with real stories about their addiction or people they might know. I usually go Sundays, but this week it's going to be on Saturday. My point here is that I had to be so actively involved in my own addiction recovery. I created all this around me to the tune of every day. My videos take me approximately 5 hours between getting ready for them and completing them and airing them, to the tune of people contacting me, so I talk about my addiction and their addiction. So I get at least 8 to 9 hours a day of recovery in my own life, compared to when I tried AA was only about an hour and a half. And I'm not knocking AA, so don't get me wrong. My methods are just better for me. They might be better for you. But either try AA, try the treatment centers, try my methods, or anyone else's methods. But two things have to be involved in your recovery: the desire and the hunger to stay sober. Sobriety is your #1 goal, and to include your higher power. God needs to be involved in your addiction recovery. He really needs to be involved in your daily function, but he needs to be also involved in your addiction recovery. So if you're ready to do that, and admit you have a problem and seek treatment, reach out to God and ask for guidance and direction. He will guide and direct you. You will see so many changes in your life for the better. Physical changes, financial changes, mental changes, relationship changes, family changes. You'll be amazed. But it all starts with you. And it all starts today, October 25th, 2014. When you go to bed tonight, folks, when you take your sneakers, shoes, or slippers off and put it by the edge of your bed, on the bottom, tonight push them under your bed. That's right, push them under your bed. That way tomorrow morning, when you wake up, thank God when you wake up, you have to go on your knees to go and retrieve them from under your bed. And while you're on your knees, folks, thank God that you have another day on this beautiful earth. Because for every breath you take, there is someone, whether it's in your community or in the world, there is someone or some people taking their last breath. For every time you get to blink and open and close your eyes, there is someone in your community or somewhere else in the world closing their eyes for the last time. Those people that have took their last breath and closed their eyes for the last time might have not been able to have the chance that you have right now, and that is to change your life. They might have taken their last breath or closed their eyes because of an overdose. They might have because of an illness. They might have because of an accident. But if you're watching me and you are here physically now, you have a chance for change. But you need to reach out and accept that change. You need to admit you have a problem, and you need to go to your higher power and ask for guidance and direction. Because if your life was so good, it wouldn't be crumbling around you. Folks, it starts with you. You need to let the sunshine into your heart and into your home. And you will, I promise you, get positive results. If you let the sunshine into your heart and your home, I promise you, you will get nothing but positive results. Avoid the negative people. There are going to be people, if you have an addiction and you've been a lousy person yourself, there are going to be people who are going to tell you you're no good, you're a loser. Do not listen to them. You are a special person. The problem is you have an illness. You have an illness like cancer is an illness or disease. It could be any lupus. It could be anything. You have an illness. The thing is that you need to seek out for a recovery plan. When you have cancer, people go for chemo. When you have a cold, you go to the doctor. Well, when you have an addiction, you need to seek help. So for the people that are telling you you're no good and you're a loser, do not listen to them. They are negative people with negative results in your life. Know this: God created you. If you reach out to Him, He will take you and remold you, reform you to the person He created. But it starts with you. It all starts with you. Say a little prayer and ask for guidance and direction. And remember, folks, when you help other people, Whether it's simple things like opening a door, picking up garbage, raking leaves for your neighbor, or even sharing your wealth, whether it's money, materialistic, or food. Those are rewards that will build up your self-esteem and make you feel better. Remember this: when you came into this world, you came with nothing, and when you leave with nothing. When we move from one house to another, we rent a U-Haul truck to put our personal possessions in there, to transport from one house to another, because we're going from one place to another place, and we need to have those possessions. But when you leave this world, and you're in a hearse, and you're going to your final resting place, there will not be a U-Haul truck behind your hearse going to the graveyard with your personal possessions. That will be left behind. Why not start sharing today, October 25th, 2014, with the churches, with your neighbors, with your family? If you have extra, give a little to someone. There are people in need out there. They are in need for food, clothing, or just love. When you give, you get. Whether it's respect, whether it's fortune, karma is a very powerful thing. What goes around, or what comes around goes around, or vice versa. It's one of those two. But it's very important you adhere to what I just told you. Start sharing with other people. Folks, I have been a caring person all of my life. However, what made me appear as not the person that I really am is my addiction. In the years that I was just drinking away, I appeared to be a bad person. However, inside me was always a good person. It was the addiction that took over my life, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. You are a good person. You are a special person. You have an addiction, and you need to learn to fight and live with it. Even when you are in recovery, as long as I have been, you still have an addiction. The difference is that you now know how to deal with it on a daily basis. And by doing what I'm doing, by testifying, by going out and helping other people, educating them, you will find that you become stronger and stronger in your daily living in recovery. But to merely just say, I have a problem and stop drinking, and expecting that problem to just fade away it's a thought that won't come true. You need to daily educate yourself and educate others. You need to stay away from the negative people daily. Those negative people will do whatever they can to bring you down and suck you into their life. But if you include God in your life and let the sun into your heart and your home, you will get nothing but positive results. You will see Him financially. You will see Him physically, emotionally. But it starts with you. Folks, addictions do affect relationships. You're going to have financial burdens. You're going to have emotional issues. You're going to have fear. You're going to have plenty of embarrassment. You're going to have communication issues. You're going to have frustration and resentment. You eventually might not have a relationship, but you're going to have to make good on the damage you caused. First way to start making good is to admit you have a problem, and then take responsibility for your problem, and then seek the help for your problem, and then plan an action plan for your problem and stick to it, and always be prepared for a setback. And if you do have a setback, otherwise known as a trigger, otherwise known as a relapse, find out what caused it so you don't have it again. But if you do have a relapse, folks, I will tell you right now, dust your knees, stand straight up, stick your chest out, find out what caused it, and keep moving forward. Because I am waiting for you. I am here to help you take your life back. Remember, a sober today will definitely give you a better tomorrow. Let the sunshine into your heart and into your home, and enjoy nothing but positive results. Folks, have a great weekend, and more importantly, have a sober weekend.
Take
And
your
God
life
bless you.
back.